One morning, as I stood in the gleaming lobby of my waterfront hotel, staring at a voicemail that made my stomach drop, I realized family could break your heart in ways you never saw coming. I'm Kemi, a 34-year-old hotelier who built a luxury empire from nothing but grit and a dream. My finest venue, the Emerald Crest, was supposed to host my brother Jackson's wedding, a day I'd poured my heart and $65,000 into. But that voicemail from his wedding planner? It wasn't about flowers or seating charts. It was a cold, calculated message. My invitation had been canceled, but they were keeping my money. If you're watching this, drop a comment with where you're from, hit that like button, and subscribe to hear how I turned betrayal into a lesson in self-respect that changed everything. Growing up in a working-class Seattle neighborhood, Jackson and I were each other's lifeline. He's 2 years older, but he acted like my protector from the start. I can still picture him holding my hand as we walked to school, his grip firm against the drizzle of Puget Sound mornings, making sure I didn't slip on wet sidewalks. Our bond was forged in the chaos of our parents' divorce when I was 12. The shouting matches, the slammed doors, it left us clinging to each other, while our mom and dad drifted into their own worlds. Mom, suddenly a single parent, scrambled to find work with no recent experience. Dad, always buried in his accounting job, moved into a cramped apartment and prioritized his new girlfriend over us. They turned us into messengers for their bitterness. Tell your mom she's late with the custody schedule, or ask your dad why the child support check bounced. Jackson and I learned fast, we could only count on each other. Money was tight, so by 16, I was bussing tables at a local coffee shop, and Jackson was hauling boxes at a warehouse. We'd pull our tips to buy groceries when Mom's paycheck didn't stretch far enough. "It's you and me, Soph," he'd say, counting crumpled bills on our kitchen table. "No matter what, I've got your back." Those words carried me through high school and into college, where I studied hospitality management, dreaming of creating spaces where people could escape life's chaos. Jackson skipped college, diving into construction, but he'd send me part of his paycheck for textbooks, cheering me on like my personal hype man. My career wasn't glamorous at first. I started as a barista, then worked the front desk at a small inn while finishing my degree. My hustle caught the eye of a manager who promoted me to supervisor, and by 27, I was running operations at a high-end Seattle hotel. That's when I took my biggest leap, buying a run-down waterfront property, the Emerald Crest, with every cent I'd saved and a risky loan. It was a gamble, 18-hour days, endless renovations, but Jackson was there, using his construction contacts to get me deals on contractors, and showing up weekends to fix leaky pipes himself. "This place is your future," he'd say, hammer in hand, grinning. "And mine too, if you ever need a handyman." That support, that belief in me, made the impossible feel real. The Emerald Crest became my pride and joy, a 5-star haven that drew celebrities and diplomats. By my early 30s, I'd expanded to 4 more hotels and launched Coastal Elegance Catering, specializing in upscale weddings. Jackson celebrated every milestone, but our parents' reactions were complicated. Dad, who'd barely called during my college years, suddenly wanted to show me off at fancy dinners, like my success was his to claim. Mom, meanwhile, got weirdly competitive, hinting her part-time real estate gig was just as big a deal as my hotels. Neither acknowledged that Jackson and I had built our lives despite their absence, not because of it. Then Claire entered the picture. Jackson met her at a charity gala where my catering team was serving. She was stunning, polished, the daughter of a tech investor with a mansion in the San Juan Islands. But something about her set me on edge. She spoke to my staff like they were beneath her, her tone clipped and cold. When Jackson introduced us, her handshake was limp, her smile fake. "Oh, you're the sister with the hotels," she said, glancing around like she'd rather be anywhere else. How industrious. Jackson, though, was head over heels, blind to her arrogance. Within weeks, he was spending all his time at her country club, swapping his work boots for loafers and his pickup for a sleek sedan he couldn't afford. I tried to ignore the red flags, telling myself love could change people. But Claire's influence on Jackson was unsettling. Our weekly coffee meetups dwindled to monthly, then stopped. When we did talk, Claire was usually there, rolling her eyes at our childhood stories or checking her phone like she was counting the seconds until she could leave. Her mother, Margaret, was worse. At Jackson's birthday dinner, she grilled me about my little hotel venture, her tone dripping with condescension. "It must be so tiring, all that manual work," she said, sipping her wine. I could never. When I explained I owned the business, not mopped the floors, Jackson jumped in. "Kemi's always been a grinder," he said, like it was something to apologize for. "She'll probably cash out once she settles down." His words stung. He knew my hotels were my passion, not some temporary hustle. I felt him slipping away, chasing Claire's world of status and glitz, leaving the brother who'd promised to always have my back behind. When Jackson called one rainy evening, his voice buzzing with excitement, I hoped it was a sign things were turning around. "She said yes, Soph," he announced. Claire had accepted his proposal, a lavish affair at her family's island estate with a private chef and a string quartet. I pushed down my unease, focusing on his joy. "That's amazing, Jackson. Tell me everything." He described the rose petals, the diamond ring that drained his savings, and their plan for a summer wedding. But then he hesitated. "Claire's mom says the top venues book up fast, and the ones they want are out of our price range." I heard the worry in his voice, the pressure to meet Claire's expectations. Without thinking, I offered, "What about the Emerald Crest? The ballroom's perfect for a big crowd, and the waterfront views are unbeatable. Plus, as my brother, you'd get a family discount." He paused, unsure. Claire's got her heart set on fancier places, like the Four Seasons. I swallowed my pride. The Emerald Crest outranks them in every travel guide. "Let me show you what we can do." The tour of the Emerald Crest was a disaster. Claire and Margaret swept through the ballroom like they were inspecting a discount motel, whispering and scribbling notes. My hotel manager, Marcus, laid out our top-tier wedding package, highlighting the panoramic views and custom catering options. Margaret barely looked up. "It's sufficient," she said, pursing her lips. "But the decor is all wrong for Claire's aesthetic. Would you consider repainting the walls and replacing the chandeliers?" I blinked, stunned. "We can customize the lighting and add decor to match her vision," I offered, keeping my voice steady. "Repainting an entire ballroom this close to the date would be excessive." Claire frowned. "Mother, maybe we should keep looking." Jackson shot me a desperate look, the same one he used as a kid when he needed me to smooth things over. Against my better judgment, I caved. "Show me your vision board, Claire. We'll make it work." That opened the floodgates. Claire's demands were straight out of a royal fantasy: imported orchids, a custom ice sculpture, a dessert bar with gold leaf macarons. When Marcus showed Jackson the cost estimate, even with my discount, his face went white. It was well over $100,000. That's when I made a choice I'd later question. As my wedding gift, I said, "I'll cover the $65,000 deposit for the venue and catering." Jackson shook his head. "Soph, that's too much." But Claire and Margaret exchanged a quick look. "That's incredibly generous," Claire said, her voice suddenly sweet. "We accept." That $65,000 was months of my profits, but I thought it would show Jackson I still had his back, maybe even win Claire over. Instead, I was sidelined. Claire hired Lydia, a high-profile wedding planner, who scheduled tastings and meetings without including me. When I asked Jackson why I was being left out, he mumbled, "Claire thinks it's a conflict of interest since you own the venue." I bit back my hurt, reminding myself this was for him. But Claire and Margaret's demands grew absurd, ripping out a century-old fireplace because it clashed, ordering my chefs to redo the menu a dozen times, canceling meetings last minute. My staff was exhausted, but I kept my cool, determined to make Jackson's day perfect. Then the invitations didn't arrive. I waited weeks, assuming it was a mix-up. But when my cousin called, raving about her gold-embossed invite and Claire's personalized note, my heart sank. I checked with other family members, they'd all gotten theirs. I texted Jackson, trying to sound casual, "Hey, need my invite details. +1? Dress color?" His reply was vague, still finalizing. "We'll let you know." Days later, I saw social media posts from Claire's bridal shower, my mom, dad, everyone but me. Then Marcus mentioned Claire had reviewed the seating chart. I asked to see it. My name wasn't there. She was very specific, Marcus said, avoiding my eyes. Every name was handpicked. The realization hit like a wave. They were cutting me out. The final blow came on a rainy afternoon, during a staff meeting, when my phone rang. It was Lydia, the wedding planner, her voice all business. Kemi, I'm calling about your $65,000 deposit for Jackson and Claire's wedding. My pulse quickened. Is there a problem with the payment? I asked, stepping into the hall. Lydia hesitated. Not exactly. I've been instructed to inform you that your invitation has been canceled. The family wishes to retain the deposit, though. The words didn't register at first. Canceled? By who? My voice was a whisper. Claire and her mother, Lydia said. They said Jackson agreed. They feel your presence might disrupt the event's atmosphere, given your role as the venue owner. I gripped the wall, my knees weak. Disrupt the atmosphere? I'm his sister. I paid for half this wedding. Lydia's tone softened. They mentioned concerns about guests mistaking you for staff. And yes, they intend to keep the deposit, as it was presented as a gift. Rage and hurt collided in my chest. Jackson, my Jackson, who'd shared his lunch with me when we were kids, who'd driven through the night to fix my hotel's plumbing, had signed off on this. I could barely breathe. Just to be clear, I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside, they want to use my venue, my catering, my money, but I'm not welcome at my brother's wedding. Lydia sighed. That's correct. I'm sorry, Kemi, I didn't know you owned the Emerald Crest when I made the call. A plan snapped into place. Lydia, please deliver a message to Claire and Jackson. Tell them the wedding is canceled unless I get a formal apology and an invitation by the end of the day. As the owner, I can void any event that violates our values, like integrity and respect. They'll lose the deposit and the venue. Lydia gasped. Kemi, that's unprecedented. So is uninviting your sister while keeping her money, I shot back, ending the call. My phone exploded with calls, Jackson, Claire, Margaret, but I ignored them, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and resolve. I'd spent months swallowing their insults, bending over backward for Jackson's happiness. No more. By late afternoon, Jackson stormed into the hotel lobby with Claire, Margaret, Richard, and our parents. I had Marcus usher them to a conference room, keeping this professional. When I walked in, Claire was sobbing, Margaret fuming, and Jackson looked like he'd aged a decade. What are you doing, Kemi? He shouted. You can't cancel our wedding. I stood tall, hands clasped. I'm enforcing our contract and my self-respect. You banned me from your wedding, but kept my $65,000. Explain that. Claire's father, Richard, stepped forward. This is absurd. We have a deal. I didn't flinch. A deal that lets me cancel if the event violates our ethical standards, like fraud. Excluding me while keeping my money qualifies. Margaret scoffed. This is about your ego. I turned to Jackson. No, it's about family. You let them treat me like I'm less than because I work for a living. Is that who you are now? Jackson stared at the floor. My mom, voice shaking, asked Jackson, did you really agree to this? He mumbled, it's complicated. Claire wanted a certain vibe. Lydia spoke up. I was told to exclude Kemi explicitly. Claire said it was to avoid awkward family dynamics. The room went silent. I looked at Jackson, my heart breaking. Do you want me at your wedding, or am I just the bankroll you tolerate? The wedding day arrived, the emerald crest, a vision of elegance. I sat in the front row, heart racing, as Jackson stood at the altar, visibly tense. Claire glided in, radiant in a gown that screamed money. The minister's voice echoed, if anyone objects, speak now or forever hold your peace. Jackson's eyes met mine, and I saw something shift, regret, clarity, the brother I knew. I object, he said, voice clear. Gasps filled the room. Claire froze. I can't marry you, Claire. I've been pretending to be someone I'm not, betraying the sister who's always had my back. This isn't me. Claire's face twisted with fury. You're humiliating me. Jackson turned to the guests. I'm sorry, but this wedding's off. Thank you for coming. He walked to me, took my hand, and we left the chaos behind. In my office, he broke down. I almost lost you, sophomore. I saw their true colors, how they treated you, how they wanted me to change. I couldn't do it. Tears stung my eyes. I'm proud of you, Jackson. You chose yourself. He hugged me, the weight of our childhood promise, you and me, settling between us. The fallout was messy but liberating. Claire and Margaret tried to salvage their reputation, threatening lawsuits, but Richard shut them down, admitting my stance was justified. Jackson faced financial strain, repaying some of Claire's family's costs, but his rail friends rallied around him. The Emerald Crest's reputation only grew. Marcus told me clients admired how I'd handled the drama with grace. Weeks later, Claire showed up at my office, a shadow of her former self. No designer dress, just jeans and a nervous smile. I'm here to apologize, she said, handing me a $65,000 check. What I did was wrong, cruel. I was so obsessed with status I lost myself. She told me therapy had opened her eyes, that her quick engagement to a tech mogul, Juan, had shown her how she'd become someone she didn't like. I don't expect forgiveness, she said, but I'm trying to be better. I nodded, surprised by her sincerity. Thank you, Claire. That means something. Jackson and I started over. Our Sunday brunch is a sacred ritual again. He began dating Hannah, a kind-hearted urban planner who laughed at his construction jokes and treated my staff like people, not props. When they got engaged, they chose a simple garden ceremony at my newest hotel, with me as Jackson's best woman. As I fixed his tie before the vows, he said, "You saved me, Soph, not just from Claire, but from losing who I am." I smiled, echoing our old promise. That's what family does, the real kind. That painful year taught me self-respect isn't just about success, it's about knowing your worth and drawing lines when others try to erase it. I started a fund, the Heart of Emerald Grant, to help couples have authentic weddings without financial stress. I also began mentoring young entrepreneurs, sharing lessons about boundaries as much as business. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If this story hit home, share your own moment of standing up for yourself in the comments. I'd love to hear it. Please like this video, subscribe for more stories of resilience, and share it with someone who needs a reminder of their value. You're worth more than anyone's disrespect. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.